Welcome back to another story from the rugged edge of the frontier. A story about betrayal, redemption, and the quiet kind of love that doesn't ask for anything in return. Out here in the wilderness, people don't talk much, but their actions echo louder than any sermon. This is the story of Evelyn, a woman sold by her own family for being useless, and Jonas Hale, a lumberjack widower with 4 children, a man who believed he'd never love again, until the day he found her in the snow. The snow fell like shattered glass across the gray morning when Evelyn's father dragged her to the edge of the town square. $20, he said to the merchant, his voice flat. She can't bear children. But she can cook, clean, and she won't talk back. The merchant, a man with small, greedy eyes, grinned. A good price for damaged goods. Evelyn didn't cry. She had cried enough the night before when her mother wouldn't meet her eyes. She stood quietly, her shawl wrapped tight against the cold, watching the world she'd known fade into a blur of white and betrayal. By noon, the merchant had her tied at the back of his wagon, bound for the logging camps north of town. But fate had other plans. Halfway through the journey, a storm broke. The wagon lost a wheel, the horses panicked, and the merchant, furious and afraid, cut her loose. "Die out here for all I care," he shouted, vanishing into the snowstorm. Evelyn stumbled through the forest, barefoot, half-conscious until she saw the faint glow of firelight through the trees. Inside a small cabin, a man was chopping wood, his breath thick in the freezing air. 4 small faces watched him through the window. When he turned, he saw her, a woman collapsing into the snow, her skin pale as the frost around her. Jonas Hale dropped his axe and ran toward her. He didn't ask questions. He lifted her in his arms and carried her inside. When Evelyn woke, the fire crackled softly, and a small boy was staring at her with wide blue eyes. "Papa said you were half frozen," he whispered. "He says God sent you." Jonas appeared behind him, tall, quiet, rugged from years of work. He offered her a cup of warm broth. "Drink this. You're safe here." Evelyn hesitated, unsure whether to trust him. "You don't have to help me," he shrugged. "Maybe not. But I'm not the kind of man who lets people die outside my door." For days, she stayed in his cabin, too weak to walk far. His 4 children, Sarah, Eli, Thomas, and baby Ruth, watched her with curiosity. Soon she began to help, sewing torn clothes, cooking stew, mending what she could. The children laughed again. The cabin, once cold with silence, began to feel alive. But one night, as Jonas fixed the stove, he caught her staring out the window, tears shining in the firelight. "They said I was worthless," she whispered. "They sold me because I couldn't give anyone a child." Jonas stopped. "You've already given more to this house than I thought possible," he said. "My children smile again. You gave that. Don't let anyone tell you what your worth is." And that night, for the first time, Evelyn slept without fear. Winter passed slowly. The snows melted, the rivers swelled, and with spring came rumors. The merchant had returned to town, demanding to know where his property had gone. One evening, while Jonas was out cutting timber, 3 men rode up to the cabin, looking for a girl named Evelyn, their leader said, smirking. "Belongs to Mr. Crane by law." Evelyn froze, clutching little Ruth to her chest. The eldest son, Eli, stood in front of her, trembling but firm. "She's our family now," he said. When Jonas returned, the men were still there, laughing, taunting. He didn't raise his voice. He just stepped between them and the cabin. "She's under my roof," he said quietly. "And you'll leave her be," the men sneered. "She's just a barren woman." "You could do better, Hale." Jonas's eyes hardened. "Maybe, but no one could be kinder." His hand rested on his axe, and something in his expression made the men back down. When they left, Evelyn burst into tears. Jonas turned to her, his voice rough with emotion. "You don't owe me anything. You can leave any time." But she shook her head. "There's nowhere else I'd rather be." Years passed. The Hale children grew strong and kind under Evelyn's care. The townsfolk who once pitied Jonas now watched him with quiet respect. Then one spring morning, Evelyn collapsed while carrying firewood. Jonas carried her to bed, his hands trembling. The doctor came and smiled. "She's not sick, Jonas. She's expecting." For a moment, Jonas didn't believe it. Then he looked at Evelyn, tears streaming down her face. and fell to his knees beside her. "After all they said," she whispered. He kissed her hand. "They were wrong, Evelyn. They always were." Months later, when their baby girl was born, Jonas built a small cradle from pine, carved with the words, "Family isn't found. It's made." The same townsfolk who once turned their backs now gathered to see the woman once sold for being worthless cradle her child, surrounded by love, warmth, and laughter. And that's how a lonely lumberjack and a broken-hearted woman proved that family isn't about blood, but about the ones who choose to stay and build something good out of the ashes. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who believes in second chances, because sometimes the coldest winters bring the warmest homes,